morning. It's Bradley McCalister, Monday Methods, on a wonderful February 7th, I do believe it is. I hope everybody's doing well. Let's see, Don's here. Good morning, Don. Haven't seen you in a long time. Haven't seen anybody in a long time. Good morning, Michael. Great to be back out here in the studio. It's one of those nasty South Georgia days. It's like 30-something, 40, and raining, all that good stuff. Hey, Brian, long time no see. Like I said, I've been gone for, well, I haven't been out here about 3 weeks between weather things and travel, etc., etc. But we're back. We're ready to have some fun. I was cleaning up yesterday, as you might have seen in the description, and I came across this piece of resin. I said, hey, I got the project for today. So let me know if everything is sounding right, looking right, and all that good stuff. I think, I'm looking at the Facebook thing, and I think I shouldn't pay attention to my mouth. Tell me if the audio is out of sync. Not that I can fix it today, but hopefully it's all good. So we're going to have fun. Mary Alice, good morning. Get that coffee going in California if you're drinking coffee out there. It's good to see you. Michael, all good. He says, all right, good deal. Oh, I was going to move my heater over here. That was the last thing. It's cold out here, even though I got more insulation in. But it's cold, it's nasty, and the heater's over there. But I guess my feet will just have to, I have to shuffle my feet every once in a while to keep my toes warm. It's definitely not a flip-flop day. Good morning, Scott. Glad to have you here. So, what's new in the world? The woodworking shows, obviously, I'm not out traveling with the woodworking shows now. It was funny because I went to Pennsylvania. I was returning a trailer to my buddy Dino, who, if you've been to the woodworking shows, you know Dino is my man. The big ugly thing in the red vest. Hey, that's not a vest, that's got sleeves, Don. But it's good to see you, Donald. So Dino is the truck driver who runs all the freight for the woodworking shows and set up the hall and all that. And he also, with Spiracraft, once we opened the retail, he was my cashier and my #1 helper in the booth. And he had loaned me a cargo trailer to help empty out my property in Colorado to get it on the market and get sold. And I never could get the trailer back, or I couldn't get the trailer emptied because of storage. I couldn't get any storage around here. I had units before. I couldn't get another one to empty the trailer out. Good morning, Lorianne. So anyway, I finally got the trailer emptied out, and I had a little window last week or whatever, because I've got commitments for the next 8 weeks that I can't really get out of town very long. So I ran to Pennsylvania when that big snowstorm was coming. But we had fun and got to see Dino, my buddy, and hung out for a little bit. I mean, I went to the Poconos for a total of 4 days from leaving here to coming back. So it was a quick trip. But that aside, that's my personal life. That's what I've been up to. Ready to get going with Monday Methods. Hey, Arthur's in here. You guys also, if you noticed over in the Monday Methods wood and resin turning group, if you didn't, go by there and see the post. Today, because we're turning resin, I'm trying to get back to all the things that I've had planned. There's a special today for everybody because we're doing resin, Spiracraft resin and resin tints and negative rate cutters. All the things we're using today are 15% off for today in the Spiracraft store. And the code, now that you have to look on the Monday Methods resin group to see it, because I don't think I can remember it in the top of my head. Let me think about it for a minute. I think it's MM 0722, something like that. Monday Methods resin and wood turning group. That's where the code is, because my brain is too feeble to remember. If anybody pops over there and can see it, pop it up. Hey, Rich, I was thinking about you yesterday. Hadn't talked to you, seen you in a long time. It's good to see you. Hope things are going well down in Florida. Can't wait to get back down there again. Scott said, you've been selected to demonstrate at AAW 2020 Woodturning Symposium in Tennessee. Great, Scott. So I'll get to meet you in person because Spiracraft will have a booth there. We have at least 4 booth spaces, and I might have 6. If there's the 2 open at the end of my space, I'll have 6 big booth spaces. Spiracraft's going to come there in a big way and have a lot of fun. Rich is busy with work home. Have you got your second master's degree there, Rich, or whatever you've been working on? I know you're going back to school. Got to get that school, got to have a little fun for your resin turn in too. So anyway, what have I got here? I got this crazy piece of resin. Now today, of course, I ended up with a piece of resin that's green, right? And you guys know I run a chroma key, which means when I change the camera to that, it should probably shimmer and do crazy things right there because it's green. So let me know if it's too annoying, because I can only see the shimmer in the monitors for the live feed. Otherwise, I have to remember to change that back and forth. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So when I turn off the key, then it cleans it up and all that good stuff. So anyway, this piece of resin, it was underneath my work table out front, and it's got stuff stuck to it. It's a hybrid, because up here in the top, it has something in it. Now, don't ask me what. Bob Krista Dasta says, any woodworking shows coming to the Tampa, Florida area? Not this year, Bob, that I'm aware of. The woodworking shows that we've always worked with are not out this year. I don't know of anything coming to Tampa area at all. But I would encourage you to come to Chattanooga. It's a great town in June for the AAW. That's a great one. So if you can get away, come on up there. So I got some kind of a piece of wood in here from whatever this was in the past. And it's a mixture of green. And there's some more wood down in here. And then the other thing about this guy, and let me go to the end camera. This thing is pretty manky on the end. So there's paper towels stuck in it and whatnot. That's why it wasn't really discarded, as I wrote in the description. It was just missing. But the bottom of this is not ready to be put in the chuck yet. Typically, this area right in here, I end up with a pre-made tenon. Let's see if I can show you with this guy. I get a pre-made tenon when I do the piece in my cups, my plastic cups. So I get a pre-made tenon, and this is how it comes out on the end when life is good. All right. Well, you can see the difference. Let me see if I can get this to where you can see the two. There we are. I'm back on the end camera, aren't I? So anyway, this thing's a mess. So we're going to clean it up. All right. Pop that off. So our first mission is to get this guy cleaned up to where we can put it in a tenon. Then we're going to turn it around, put it in the chuck. I do want to make a lidded box today, using that term loosely. And the wood that's in the top, I'd like to have that show in the lid of the box. Looking at what I've got here, because the wood is so close, I may not be able to make any type of a pull or a lift for it. It might have to be a secondary thing, because I don't want to lose the wood. So we're going to get this guy, we're going to get a fresh end down here where we can put it into a chuck, get it turned around, make our lid, get things cleaned up, cut our lid off, make our lid, and then start working on hollowing out the body and the shape of the box. So that's the overall plan there. Let's see what's going on in the chat column. Yes, Bob, it is a beautiful area up there. I used to live about 15 minutes away. I wish I still did. And Rich says, Rockler's going to have a bunch of grand opening demos at their Brandon store. There you go. Good information to know. Okay, so I've got this thing just kind of sitting in here right now. It's not really centered up. I haven't checked it anyway. I'm just using it to focus the cameras. But it doesn't look too bad. I've actually, believe it or not, it looks like I kind of hit it pretty close to true. I'm gonna tighten this down a little bit and turn the lathe on and see if it spins relatively close to true at all. That's not bad. I can live with that. Okay, that's not too far out of whack, all things considered, especially for the first shot, just guessing. There was a center hole up the top there, but not on the bottom. So we're going to freshen this bottom thing up and all that. Okay, let's make sure everything is locked down real good. Now again, I will probably at some point today, do not be surprised if I forget to turn the chroma key back on and you get to see the green screen like that, all right? So don't yell at me too hard. If I leave it off for a long time, you can just say, "Hey, you know, green screen," and I'll get the idea. Okay. So we're going to stay here a lot and in the end camera. Alrighty. So that being said, pop you back up here. Working with the EasyWood tools today, the negative rate cutters. Again, the discount code for the sale for today is Spiracraft resin, resin tint, and negative rate cutters. Everything that combines goes along with resin. So we've got the radius negative rate cutter. We've got a round negative rate cutter, and then I've got the little micro negative rate cutter set up. All right. I'm assuming these are sharp enough. If not, we'll change them out as we go. 2 3/8 is what I think I'll make my tenon down here. So I'm going to set these tools over here because I'll be using them. I'm going to also, real quick before I get started, so I can keep right on chucking, I'm going to change jaws in my Easy Chuck. My Easy Chuck is just recently back from EasyWood Tools. I had sent it up. They said that it had gotten just far too dirty to be presented in public. Hey Joe, hey Sue, good morning, good to see you. Thanks for dropping in. Joe, I hope you got the email that your woodcut tool cutter part is finally on its way. It should be there anytime. My Easy Chuck had gotten all really nasty, and Doug Dixon sometimes pops in here, and he said, Bradley, send it back and we will clean it up for you. And so indeed, EasyWood cleaned it all up. I mean, this chuck is years old. I've had it for a long time, run hard. They took care of it, serviced it, so it's all fresh to go from the good folks back up there at EasyWood Tools. But I want to run the 2 3/8 inch jaws in here. So we're going to pop those back in, and I'm going to set my little calipers. You see I didn't turn the green screen off there and get the shimmer. All right, good deal, Joe. So let's set this up. I'm going to try and keep today nice and relaxed. I haven't been out here in a while. Don't want to get crazy. I got my little calipers here. This is the way I like to do. I just set them on here. Make sure they're a little bit bigger than what I want for my perfect circle. There you go, you can see now. All right, keeping it simple here today. Oh, sorry, I always look at the wrong monitor. I'm rusty. There's what I'm talking about. So I just set my calipers to the outside of what my inner tenon is going to be. I know that was shimmering again. Okay, Easy Chuck's great. Yeah, don't ask me how, but I glued mine shut. I've done that, Don. I've glued mine shut a couple of times. I glued mine shut with CA glue and epoxy and I think lacquer. I've put it all on them at some point in time. You can tell from my setup, this is a working place. I mean, things get beat up, get used. Everything's not new and perfect here. I kind of like it that way. All right, so you did it to do. Good deal. All right, so let's make sure again. That's what I was doing. Everything is snug, and we're going to clean this guy up. I slammed my finger in something, and it hurts. I got a big old blood blister now, but that's not your concern. And controls will go down here. Find us a nice happy speed. Somewhere around 1,000 should be suitable. We can make that work. Okay. Raise our tool rest up. You know what? It's been out here, it's a little rusty. It's amazing how much things rust here. South Georgia, tons of humidity. Everything rusts. You literally, I think, would have to oil something every time you use it if you clean everything off of it. So we'll just make sure the tool rest is in good shape. All right. And we'll eyeball that. That looks pretty good. You can see, can you see? Yeah, you can see there where I set the center axis. Look at that shiny chuck. Yeah, the funny thing, Sue, is it won't stay that way very long in my hands and in this climate. All right, so there's my center axis, so I'm good there. I've got the key off. I'm going to kind of leave it that way. So I probably won't go up to the front screen a lot. You guys would rather see the piece than me anyhow. So get on the face mask. So we're all good. And let's just get this guy going. It doesn't take much off of there, so I'm actually going to use this. I wish EasyWood would come up with, start to make a negative rake square cutter. Okay, this is the radiused one, and I just wish they would do a square one. It would make projects or parts, things like this, so much easier and better. We don't have to clean up the radius. So I'm going to clean up the bottom here as well. Keeping it just away from the step drive. Now I'll come back in there with the little detail pointy tool, clean that up all the way in. You can see how we've got this. This isn't, you know, I had some air voids, some air pockets down in the very bottom. Now, as long as my tenon doesn't collapse, that won't be an issue, okay? But that's kind of what we're cleaning up, and we got paper towel in here, and we got all kinds of mess. All righty. Now I know that my tenon length is about equal to the dimensions of this cutter. So when I use the cutter, pop you into overhead, when I use the cutter like this, this is my length right here. The problem is I get a curved, and I don't have enough shoulder yet. But I get a curved surface here because of the radius. And so that's where I'll have to come in with my little detail tool. Change my angle here just a little bit more. And so you can see I've got a little bit that I'm still missing there. And it should be coming in the overhead for you. I theoretically set all the cameras to manual focus earlier, so it should stay in focus for you today. Operative word being should. So you can see I'm kind of pre-cutting a shoulder here as well. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I've got a shoulder there. We don't need a lot of shoulder right here. Just enough. I think I'll clean up this bottom a little bit more, and I want to double check now that I'm not too long. I might be a little bit long. I am. So I'm going to use the detail tool to clean up the bottom of this, because I need it to get all the way in there anyway. So a lot of today's lesson really is about, so I found this piece of resin that really wasn't in the best shape. It wasn't the perfect blank. And can we still use it? Well, and absolutely. And so that's what I kind of really want to emphasize today, is that with just a little bit of work and not a lot, we can get in and reuse a piece of resin. We've got $10 in this piece of resin, let's say. Why not make sure that we can utilize it, okay? Now, let me get my calipers and make sure that I haven't made it too small, and it looks like I probably have. Okay, so I'm going to check this with the calipers, and I may have to go to a different chuck, and that's okay, because I had to do what I had to do to get my tendon squared away. So I'm going to pop you into overhead here so that I can reach over here. I've got about 3 or 4 chucks laying around. Imagine that. I've got my Easywood over there. I've got my Nova here with a 2-inch 50mm jaws on it. I'm in a Supernova right now. This is a Supernova Protec. Then I've got a standard Supernova here. I've also got, and I'm looking for the best fit. I've got a Sorby set up here. I just don't remember what all's in all these. Jaw-wise size. This Sorby, this is a Sorby Patriot chuck. It looks like it's about the best fit for what we've got. So let's go with that. Let's go with that. Hey, Celine, you're here. Someday I'll have to get clarified on the exact pronunciation of your name. I have trouble with some names sometimes, which is not uncommon. And while we're changing this around, I'm going to turn on the key and turn on that camera. Till we get this thing turned around, make sure I got everything right. All right. And that's going to work fine. Good deal all the way around. It's good to be back out here and turning. I've got plans, since I'm not really going anywhere. I think we're going to Florida next month for Bridget's birthday, my wife's birthday. I like to go to Universal Studios and be tourists. And what else are we doing? We're going to Florida for our anniversary, but that's not till April. And then there's nobody here from my past. Ooh, that may not work. I didn't finish doing that. Let's see what happens here. This may work. The shoulder's not going to work. I got another reunion for quick change here. I didn't finish kitting I left too much in the center here. So I'm going to change the tailstock, put a live center in there, and do that. I've got a reunion in North Carolina. I was in the rafting industry for 20-something years, canoe, kayak, and rafting. One of my former businesses, I had designed and built inflatable canoes, kayaks, rafts, all that stuff. Okay, so I messed up here just a little bit, but we'll change this up. This won't take but a second. We don't have to have it perfectly back where it was. We just need to get rid of all that extra that's touching the bottom of the chuck jaws. If it's just a little teeny nub, it won't touch in the very center. But since I had this step drive in here, which looks like it's about 1 inch, it left too much room in there. Of course, the $4 million question is, where's my regular live center? As I look, because I didn't think I was going to need it today. Yeah, let's see. I've usually got something floating around. They're usually right here in the way. Usually it's out there on the work table. Usually, but a lot of usual things don't always happen the right way. I'm looking over my tippy toes to see where I might have hidden one. It could be down in the wood chips. Yes, I know the organizational factors here in the studio sometimes are a little suspect. Geez, wonder where I could have put it. That's kind of scary, because it's not in any of the usual places, which means it's disappeared. As usual. As usual, I'm looking silly. And Not there where it's supposed to be. I know I didn't carry it off anywhere. And I hate to go next door because that's a mess to look for one. It's supposed to be right there. I always embarrass myself like this when I can't find something. But then again, my shop is not perfect and my studio is not perfect. Someday, no, that won't happen. I still need to come up with a life center though. And I don't know where it is. So what we'll do, we will improvise here so that I don't look like the total fool for too terribly long. Double check, double check. Let me check something else here real quick. So I'm going to walk over this way. I know, this is kind of crazy. This is when you can go get a soda real quick because something has disappeared on me. The problem is I was moving a bunch of stuff around out here yesterday because I was cleaning up. Notice I didn't say I was organizing, I was cleaning up. But cleaning up doesn't always mean organized, as you may well know. As I look through the different various places where one could have landed. And I'll turn off the shimmer for you while I'm looking around. Hey, there we go. I just had to look in the right pile of wood chips on the floor. Yes, okay, back to what I was doing before. I looked like I didn't have a clue. All right, so we're out a little bit. Let's move her over. All I want to do is get, I don't care if it wobbles a little. All I want to do is get rid of this nub. And it looks like the way things are there, it's going to wobble. Just because it keeps sliding back into that same spot. That's worse. And see, the other end has got a dome on it. Or I would just put it in the jaws. I tried that earlier today. I don't think I didn't. Well, that'll work. That'll have to work. The other end has a dome on it, so nothing I have will grab it. That would be the easy answer, which of course, nothing's easy. Especially when you're facing the crowd. But hey, it's not the first time, it won't be the last that I don't find something for a minute. Or I did something wrong, making a little mistake. Okay, back into the overhead, turn that off. So here's what we have to do. We have to come in and clean this section up right in here, and it looks better there. All right, I'm not worried about this being out just a little bit. We're not even going to touch that. We just need to get rid of this mess right up to that little teeny point. Then we'll be in good shape. Like I say, it's one of the things I kind of like about doing things the way I do here. You know, if I was doing these and editing them, well, then you'd never see that mistake. But we all do these things. And I'm happy to share that it happens to everybody. You make a little mistake here or there. And especially when I'm out here talking, I'm having a ball. Sometimes I miss the mark on something a little bit, and that's okay. I'm not really ashamed. It's a little embarrassing when I'm having to hunt for something because my studio's a mess. I might feel a little bad about that, but as far as a honest mistake being made of not quite getting rid of something all the way, hey, I'm all good with that. I can live with that. Okay. Now we're in good shape. Back to where we were about 5 minutes ago. Rubber Chucky sphere Chucky would work for the dome. So is it concave, Don? The sphere Chucky is concave. It makes sense that it would be. Good idea. I need one of those. Can we work something out? Work it out. We'll be using it. I love all my others, but I don't have the sphere one you're talking about. That would be cool. Okay, onward we go. You know, Don, we would have been up in the Michigan area. I think would have gone to Detroit maybe this year. Would have been good to see you again up that way. Had the woodworking shows gone out there. Yeah, Rich, the rubber Chuckies, they're awesome. They do a great job. They really do work well. Okay. So as I tighten this up, because that tenon there's some voids in there, I hear a little bit of cracking here and there. So I'm snugging it up, and I'm not going crazy with it. I'm turning it by hand. It's a little out of round, but that's all right. It's not perfect. Let me see something here. We're going to go like that. We want it to sit up on the shoulders there. Oh, that broke on that side. All right. We'll just throw that excess out of there. We will double check to make sure. See, that bottom is fragile there. Let me pop you in the overhead. So where those voids are in the bottom, excuse me, when I tightened it up, that popped a little bit right out of there. So we just cleaned that out. Turn off that key there. Sometimes you have to work a little harder to work with the less than perfect blanks. Okay. We get this guy secured up in here where we're happy. That turns pretty well, all things considered. Now this is one of those cases where, because everything is not 100% absolutely solid, you got like the world's greatest grip, you know it's not going to ever get away. You want to put the double extra careful thing on, go on high alert for a project like this. Listen for things going wrong. Use your tailstock as much as you can, because it's not insecure, but it's also not the most secure grip you could possibly have. So that's when be aware, be alert, that, you know, something could go afoul. Hopefully it doesn't. You know, we never want it. That's why we wear face masks and things like that. Donald's going to send me a care package. Oh, Donald, thank you so much, man. You're the best. All right, so tailstock, like I said, let's bring a tailstock up here. Turn that speed down a little bit. We'll get this guy locked in. Now I'm just going to make it true and round, and then I'll lay out where I want the lid to be, and we'll kind of get a look at all this. I'll find my denatured alcohol. I think I've got some here so we can kind of see what we're working with. But we have it between centers now. Theoretically, it can't get away from us. All right. Let's take a look at the speed. Usually 4,000. Oh, and that's the other thing I forgot to show you guys. I made posts this morning. But let me walk over and see if I have them. The new holographic stickers. They'll come if any orders. Did I have another one here? Yes. I don't know what they'll do in the key. If you just send me an email to I think it's info at Spiracraft, and put sticker in the subject line and your address. I'll send you a new holographic sticker. Spiracraft holographic stickers. They're way cool. Turn off the key there. All those holographic colors. There we are. So anyway, these just came in the other day. Like I said, send me an email and say, hey, I'd like one for my shop, for my lathe, that I'll stick one in an envelope for you, no charge. And if you place an order, well, I'll stick one in the box. All right? Good deal on that. Okay. Put that over there. Let's get to work here. Let's clean this guy up a little bit and see what we've got. Let the resin ribbons fly, as they say. So we'll start with a round cutter. Looking good here. Just want to clean this up. Get it true. Try not to hit the chuck jaws down there. Okay, so this has a little bit of a green tint to it. I don't remember what all's inside of it. The one cutter I don't have a replacement for is that round CI3 NR with me, and it feels a little dull, so I just switched over to the radius cutter. Again, one thing I've talked about this frequently with these negative rate cutters. This is the radius one, but I'll oftentimes use the corner. Let me get where you can see here. I'll use the very corner and use it as a leading edge. Art Miller says, I'd like a sticker. Yeah, Art. I probably have your address in the database. But if you'll send me an email, Art, then I'll have it in my list so that I won't forget. Because I might not remember something that I saw on the screen there today. And I'm going to have to go tap that message off because it's covering over there we go. Some other messages on the other one. Okay, cool beans. And if you hear a little chime, it's because I got a new watch on that chimes and tells me everything in the world. All right. All right. Need a little quick sip here. Fix the cord. It's fun to be back out here. So we can see here. Now, if I put you in the end camera, you can see a little bit of the wood that's in here, whatever that might happen to be. And then I saw some others down in here before, further down in there. It doesn't seem to show up now. So, Mr. Art, I'll have to get you to not use the messenger thing there anymore because you keep coming over top of one of my screens, bud. All right, so don't reply to anything in Messenger there. It's covering up one of my screens. No more, Art, no more. All right. So, let's make another pass across the top of this guy. And then I want to take a quick look at it with some alcohol, so we can see what's down inside of here. And this is a multicolor. I think I remember this blank from a long time ago. I kind of think I remember what was going on. In that I had used up a couple of different things and ended up with different colors. This is naphtha, but it'll do the same thing for me. We just want to flow a little. So we've got this gradient color. Hopefully my face mask wasn't in the way. From dark green at the bottom to a lighter, kind of a pale, almost yellow at the top. And then if I pop you in the end camera, you can see that little piece of wood. So that piece of wood here, this hybrid part, is what I want to keep in the lid. Okay, does that make sense? So we want to keep that as part of our lid. That's just some dye that's on there. All right, I think that'll work. So let's spin that and let it dry. Now, I like to use my favorite parting tool is Carter & Son 16th inch parting tool. This is my favorite parting tool. It pretty much is the only one I use. I just love the shape of this tool. It's nice and thin. It's got 3 steps in it. All right, and that's what I'm going to use to part this with to start cutting my lid. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of room here. I don't want a big lid, but a little bit of room to work. See, one of the things in resin here is we don't have to worry about grain alignment, more or less. There's no grain to line up. When you're making a lidded box in wood, you worry about the size of the kerf, because if you're taking too much material out, then your grain doesn't line back up very well. Well, in our resin world here, that doesn't really much matter, okay? So that's where my lid, and I just made that light cut, and this really does cut this resin well. And also, I'm gonna clean up this top here before I part this all the way through, okay? Just because I'm here and I can. I'm actually going to use the edge of this radius cutter instead of the front cutter. I'm going to use the side or edge. And I'll leave a little bit of a top area right in there. Okay. Now I see I've got, do I have a void or is that just, got a little bit of a void right there. And there's a little bit of a void right there. Okay, a little bit further. Like I say, I get really excited when I can rework a piece of resin or a piece of wood for that matter and make something interesting, unique, pretty, usable, whatever you want to use to describe it, out of something that otherwise might have gotten thrown away. All right, that's pretty cool. Now it's kind of got some little cracks in there, but that's part of what's the word I'm thinking of? The wood, the hybrid. And I want to clean up this very, very tip top while I'm here. So I'll come in with my little diamond point, real narrow CI7 cutter. It's just a lot easier to do these things now while it's between centers and nice and solid. Now this lid's going to end up going into a chuck in some fashion, and we'll figure that out. We'll deal with that when the time comes. And like I said, I don't know that I'll be able to make a pull here. Okay. And now the other thing is with the dome that I've got on it, I may end up doing this between centers somehow, but we'll figure this out. So let's see what that's going to look like. So that's it's got some nice depth in it. Hopefully you can see that depth down in there. In that nice piece of wood. Hiding out in the green. Again, I have no idea. I cannot remember what in the world it is that I put in there. Doesn't ring any bells or anything else. But let's go ahead and part through here for the most part, so to speak. And I will pop you back into the overhead. Now I will make a little bit of a relief cut if it starts to want to bind. And one thing, I don't know if you can see, you can't see the fumes. You can see it coming off when I was cutting. I stepped away and I'm gonna turn on a fan. You don't really want to breathe this, and I'm sorry if my head's getting in the way. No, it's not. Oop, that's unplugged. You don't want to breathe that resin smoke, okay? And I have my overhead air filtration system here now, but it's out in the warehouse still. Imagine that. So let me get over here. I'm plugging in a fan so I can blow this away from me. Because I don't need to be coughing and hacking and breathing resin smoke. Just a little breeze will do the job. Yes, when I closed down my house and property in Colorado, I loaded up an entire wood shop. I mean, you know, table saws, band saws, dust collectors, lathes, tools of all kinds, all my clamps. I also had an upholstery shop and an inflatable boat shop still, all over in storage. So I brought a whole bunch of stuff home, which I still don't have enough room for. All right, back in here. Now I'm going to take the tailstock away in a second. Okay, let's stop for a moment. Take that tailstock away so that we can part this guy off. The rest of the way, by the way, don't touch that tool handle. That tool is very hot, as I did. There we go. And you get a nice clean end there. I'm just going to put that parting tool down before I grab it again by the hot end of things. All right, good deal. Okay. So that gets hauled out. We need to work on our shape though. Before I even do anything with the lid, I'm going to start working on a little bit of a shape here. I know where my lid's going to go up there, and my lid is going to go over top of my body. So I know that. Now, I did one before a long time ago that was kind of vase shaped, and I think I'll do something a little bit different with this one. You know, I don't have a lot of room to work with, a lot of material to work with here. And I'm going to bring that tailstock back up just to be safe. Because I don't, you know, that grip is only so good in there. Okay. So we're still turning about 1,000 RPMs. And I'm just going to start getting rid of some material down in here. just to give myself a little bit of an idea of what I want to do. And what I'm also going to do, I want to make sure I leave myself, I'm not going to use that nasty bottom, so I want to make sure I leave myself enough room in here to part this off. Okay? And that's plenty of room. Nothing like ribbons flowing on a Monday morning. So just slowly working the profile down a little bit. I'll go all the way up to the top. Now you hear that chipping. So this again, this blank, it was the result of a couple of leftovers. So it may have gotten hot, a little too hot in the exothermic reaction, and it's brittle in here. And this is epoxy, which typically is not brittle. So just something to keep in mind. Now we can be careful. We can turn the speed up, and that'll clean up. But that's what's going on. That's what you're hearing there. Now Joe gave me a brush. Joe's here. And Joe, I think that brush you gave me for my resin strings is still in my office, buddy. I apologize for not remembering to bring it out. I just now thought of it as I'm looking at all the strands. Joe sent me a brush for cleaning away all these stringers at Christmas time. And I've left it in the office. Okay. I see there does look like there's some nice swirl in here. We'll clean this up. So there is some pattern to, the otherwise what looks kind of like just uniform resin, but I do see a little bit of swirliness in there where the two colors appear to have combined. And this brittle area, like I say, we'll turn the speed up and we'll get that cleaned up. I'm going to rotate this cutter and hope that it will act a little bit better. So I have another, hang on a second here, before I bother with that. I have another CI3 negative rate cutter on a full size, or a mid-size tool. Let's see if it's a little bit sharper, yeah. People always say, well, how do you know when the cutters are getting dull? The answer is they don't cut as well as they used to. Okay. Just working on a nice simple shape there. Clear these strings out of the way. Let's just out of curiosity see what that resin looks like. Because then we're going to hollow this out and you'll be able to see through it. It'll be translucent, which will be pretty cool. Okay. That'll be really cool when it's hollow. A little bit more profile to it, and then we'll empty it out. We'll start to hollow. Now I'm going to turn some speed up here. See if I can get that brittle area to cut a little bit cleaner. So I dialed it up to about 1300. And I can cut away that chipping. And again, I think it's because this batch, this might have been a summertime project and it got overheated in the summer. But you can see with the speed up, I'm able to reduce that chipping. And if I had a 100% super fresh cutter on here, it would also help. Although, like I say, this is working fine. I had to cut down through the chips. There's a little piece of wood left right in there as well. Okay. So let's come back up here and work on this profile some more. And of course, the beauty is you can make it whatever shape appeals to you. Okay. I'd really like to make this thinner, but I'm going to leave this thick until I take some of the body out, some of the inside out, because I want to leave some structure here. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit. Because when I go to hollow in here, I want to be sure that I don't get a bunch of flexing up here. So I'll hollow this out from the inside up in here. We'll come in the top. We'll take the center out of this. And we'll leave a little excess in the wall. Then we'll come back and take some more of that out to kind of clean that up. Okay, let's go inside. Let's do a little hollowing. How's our lid? Make sure our lid's oversized. It is indeed. So we can work with that when the time comes. Now, what I want, and I'm going to change the cutter out. So we're going to take a minute, take a break here for a second. Hit the key. I do want to hollow with my favorite EasyWood tool, #1 hollower, which right now has a standard cutter on it. And to hollow down inside here, I'm going to go ahead and switch over and put a fresh CI5 NR on there for this. So that's what I'm going to do real quick here. All I have to do is find my #1 tool, which is my ice pick, which I have over here. So you notice, very rare, I'm wearing long sleeves because actually said it's quite cold, and even with the heat on and insulated, it's just one of those raw days. So this shirt, the sweatshirt that I'm wearing underneath, I was wearing doing insulation in here yesterday, so it needs to be washed anyway. But let's put a fresh. Let's see if we can get this loose. This is why we use the ice pick. You get right down in here, you need to, and get all the grunge out. Otherwise, you strip out the screw. Okay. Kill that key for you, where you can get a good grip. Where we can get a good grip. Hopefully, I can get a good grip today. Come on. There we go. I was starting to worry there for a minute. All right, so we'll pop this back up here. And put that over in the save bin. That screw needs to be thrown away, but we'll save the cutter. And a fresh CR5 negative rake with a new screw. We'll get her on here and get her all good to go. Then we'll know we have the best cutter going. And also, the reason I'm doing this is that when I go into this deeper recess here, the fresh CI5 negative rake cutter will let me get that in there a little bit closer, a little bit tighter. Do, 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 do. There we go. One day they'll stop putting the screw down in there, or not. So don't ever do this over a floor full of chips and shreds and shards like I am, because when you drop it, you won't find it, and you'll be out $13. You'll find it with your magnet, I guess, eventually. Always tighten with the short end so that you don't over tighten it. If you're turning green wood, put some wax on there, some grease, so that the screw doesn't rust to the shaft. All that good stuff. Okay, back into the end camera. Key off. Sip of water for the operator. Let's see, we're right there at the center. That looks good. Again, our grip with the tenon is okay, but it's not great. So we're not going to be overly aggressive here today. We'll try and make sure we're always pushing down that center axis of the lathe. If you want to ask, could you drill this out with a Forstner bit to get ahead of the game? You could. See, that's like I said. So I was very gentle, and I was afraid it might be an issue. And that's the problem we run into sometimes. The question is, will it stay true? Because it's crunching in, and I have just a little teeny bit left to go on these chuck jaws before I run out of grip. Okay, so for the moment, crisis averted for the moment. Doesn't mean that it won't happen again, and I'll leave the screen happen. That's why you always wear a face mask, in case that thing gets flying out of there. So it just has to be a little less aggressive. Not that I was being aggressive to start with. Yes, Art, that's what I was saying. You drill this out with the drill bit slow, you get most of this bulk out. It would be a great idea. If I wasn't standing here doing this live, I probably would go dig out put my Jacobs chuck in and find my drill bit. I have some of those nice Colt Forstner bits that you can't really find here in the US anymore. They do a wonderful job. I do like the two-toneness of this guy, the darker green down at the bottom and the light colors at the top. And I don't know if you guys remember or not that I've shown you how you can take the Spiracraft aniline dyes and dye this resin, and it will stay. And you can color it to a different color. It's a really cool thing. Let's drill a little hole right down the middle here. So I just work back and forth a little bit. Now my next biggest concern, we know that we have brittle material down back in here. So if it's brittle down inside here, it can be kind of for a mess. It could be hard to turn it cleanly. It could actually break. But again, this is a blank that was otherwise probably going to get thrown away. So if you can make something out of it without too much extra efforts, well then it's worth it. Getting a little bit of vibration, but not too bad. I'll drill a little bit more down through the center here. You can definitely hear that brittle resin down in the bottom there. Although it's not chipping, it is noisy. Now one thing I need to keep in mind, if I'm going to make this the outer diameter smaller, I need to leave myself enough wall thickness in here so that I can take material away on the outside. Okay. Now up on the top, I can let it, you can hear that resin will flex and vibrate like that. It's a nice high pitch. That's really annoying. Okay, let's see what we think about this in here. A little nub in the center. Take that nub away. And then I want to hit this with some solvent and kind of see what the inside looks like. Because my standard, as you may remember, is to kind of go with a lacquer finish. It saves me a ton of time. I don't have to, I only sand lightly and then I sand the lacquer and I get a nice shiny finish without a lot of extra work. There we go. So we have a little piece of wood hanging in there. We've got some nice color, if you can see that. Kind of reminds me of an old insulator. with telephone insulator. And we've got some swirls of the darker green in there. And if I go to the overhead, you can kind of see what I'm talking about as well. So let me pop you in the overhead. So you can see how those dark green, where am I at? There we go. It's not super close, but you can see the dark green swirls coming up in there. So it's a pretty piece, and there's our piece of wood. All right, so that's pretty cool. And this is naphtha I'm using. It dries out super, super fast. So what I want to do, I want to pop back inside here, and I want to clean this up the best I can, get the tool marks out of it as well as I can, and I'm going to call that good in there because I'm going to take more material away from the outside, all right? Okay, so let's get this as smooth as we can. Good thing there's no dog in here. Just trying to get the humps and any ridges out. Okay, so now we're starting to get a little, we've got a nice, people work really hard to get that texture with a texturing tool. There's some on the inside rim right there you can see. That's from the vibration. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for, so I'll see if I can't make it go away. There we go. All right, now a little bit of work at the bottom there. Just to finish that off. These are fun little projects. Doesn't take a ton of material. And again, this is basically scrap resin that was left over from other pours, if you will. A little bit more right through there. I don't want to spend too long looking at my time, 12:15. Okay, that little bottom, the little white ring you see there in the very bottom, that will sand out. You can turn it away if you're lucky and if you're having a good day like that. You just come in and take one more cut and you can make that go away. Now what's funny, this is really funny right here. This piece of wood is actually going back and forth. There you go. See that piece of wood right there? My finger's on it right now. If I push it from the outside, it goes in. So the piece of wood is loose. And if I show you, I saw it in the other camera. You can see it poke out, kind of like a little worm poking up out of the hole. There you go. It's kind of funny. So it's going to come out of there, and there it is. There's our little piece of wood that was in there. I guess it didn't want to stay. All right. So now we have a natural little hole right through the side of it. Hey, you get that? That's cool. I'm happy. All right. Let's come back around over to the outside profile now and take some more out of this. So we'll go back over to here. And for the moment, I'm going to stay with this nice, fresh, sharp CI5 cutter. when I knocked it out, it's a little out of round down here now, but not bad. So this smaller radius cutter will let me work this waste, down pretty, nicely. And I'm just going to use my fingers to check my thickness here. Need a nice background to be able to see there. Okay. Double check what I got going on. Don't want to make a donut. This bottom layer of resin is kind of rough. But we'll get that cleaned up. Okay. So, I'm just about flush with the bottom right there. I'm going to intentionally make myself a little groove, right? A little line right there. Okay. And that little line, that little ridge is my reference point. And I'm going to clean up everything above that now with the radius style cutter. And then we won't come back up here. Okay, we'll leave this alone. So we're just working out all the fine profile here. There's a term using the 60 grit gouge and the 80 grit gouge. Well, in a way, that's how I kind of think of using these finish cutters. It's one step above sanding with rough paper, the difference being, and it's a big difference, that you get a very smooth finish, but it lets you shape things very gently, just like you can with heavy sandpaper. And I'm gonna move this. I wish I had a better background to look at so I could see my contour just a little bit better. There's a hump right in here, I think, that I want to get rid of. It's not big. It's just in the profile. And I don't have real good contrast. I'm looking over here, and I just don't quite have the contrast that I would like to have. What you see in the overhead camera is a little bit different. I don't see those white spots. What I might do, let's see if I can do this without getting myself in trouble here. This is just for me, so I have some contrast. Now, it looks a little weird for you, but that gives me a contrast that I can look at this edge over here because I'm looking further away. And that makes all the difference in the world, being able to see that profile. To get that form the way you want it, okay? All the difference in the world. And if this was a nice clean piece of black poster board, it would be truly like perfect. As far as contrast goes. Okay, so just to see what we've got here. Got a nice little look. We got still got the hole. We got the spins there. All right, good deal. Now let's go a little bit smaller down in the waist of this thing. A little bit smaller down in there. And that's where that nasty resin is. It doesn't want to cut as well. Okay. We could push this a long way if we wanted to. I don't think I'll go too far, as I still got to play with this lid a little bit today. So let's see if we can clean this up with our radius cutter. I'm going to go left-handed, using the side of it. Come in here and clean this surface up. Now obviously I can't go all the way, I can get pretty close, but then my corner is going to start to touch. So I switch over to the micro tool. Same principle, got the negative rate cutter, but it's not as big, so I can get a little bit closer in there. I do need to stop. I need to raise the tool rest up because of the smaller bar. Okay, and I'm also going to cut this back now. Because I don't want it to be as big as it is. Which also makes a little, you can't quite see it, I have a little safety ledge here for when I part this off. Okay? Right there, so I won't stick my tool up into the jaws of the chuck. Okay, now back to my parting tool. I want to set a reference point of where's the bottom of my piece going to be. Okay. So now we know where the very, very bottom is. Ah! Threw a tool on the floor. And I'm going to work on this profile just a little bit. I'm just going to clean that up. I'm going to come back in here with the CI5. And I think I'll just roll that over a little bit. There we go. I kind of like that. All right. Good deal. Good deal. Now a little bit of cleanup. I see a little hump here that I don't like right over here. Still that transition. Remember, I made a lip there on purpose. And if you're wondering why am I using it sideways, it's because it's a better angle to get to the piece, okay? All right, a little bit of sanding, that'll all be good. So here's what that's gonna look like. More or less. With a little bit of sanding, cleanup, and finish on it. All right, gives you an idea. Again, it's kind of hard to see underneath all the chips there. All right, good deal. So, now our next major mission is to get our lid mounted up. Before I run out of time, 12, in front of me, clock here, 12:28. Think about my lid. There we go. Okay. Got plenty. I've got just about the right amount, plenty of extra, and that can drop down on top of there, and that'll be cool. Now the question really is I've got this dome on it, and how am I going to hold that and get the inside hollowed out? I may be able to. I'm going to check something here. If I'm lucky, I might be able to hold on to it without it. I'm going to try these jaws right here. Without it bottoming out. Or if it does bottom out, will it sit flat? All right. How is that holding that? That's holding in. Okay. So my lid tapers one way and my jaws taper the other, so my dovetail is holding that piece. It's not perfect. So we're going to leave this piece for the moment. So I want to part that off. Am I ready? I'm not, because I want to sand on that a little bit. So I'm just going to pop this off of here and leave this in the chuck. And we'll just kind of hold on to it, use it as a handle. That's why it is handy sometimes to have multiple chucks. I know it's a little bit of an investment, but it can really help you out. Okay, so that works fine. That turns nice and true. We're going to snug that up a little bit in there. Okay. Get myself cleaned, a few things out of the way here. Now, what's the chances of me doing that without trying? I just stabbed a water bottle with the #1 hollower. Okay, I'll put it back up here. Right? Craziness. All right. So I've got a set of inside calipers here, and I'm going to set them to the outside dimension. See if I can get this to sit here. Put it on my board. I think my overhead. Take my inside calipers, set them to the outside dimension of my little piece. All right, and that's what we'll use to gauge the inside here. JP, how you doing, buddy? What's going on up there in the frozen north? All right. That's pretty close. That'll do the trick. So we're going to clean this face up. We pop you in the end camera here. We'll clean this face up. Oh, the camera, you can't see much from that now, can you? Let's see here. Try not to get dizzy if I move that like that. I know what happened. I know what we can do. We'll just move the headstock over. Because things got further away. Lots of snow, he says. Yeah, lots of snow. There you go. Just move the headstock, Bradley. It's easier than trying to adjust the cameras. All right, so a fitted lid. We're going to clean this up. And then we'll start to work on our fit. Not the same as your outfit that you wear to work. As my wife Bridget tells me about how my fit looks, or her fit. Okay, we're a little bit high there. There we go. Okay, now, a lot of different ways we can go about this. The one that I like to work with, so I'll get my calipers and I'll take and, I'm not going to bother to try and scribe and all that, but I can see it's just very, very thin right there. So I don't need much. And I'll just make myself a reference. And I'm going to start out big. I'm going to back this up just a fuzz. And I'm pushing sideways with the diamond tool right there. Just using the diamond tool and pushing sideways. And that's real close. Now, here's the deal on a lidded box with a fitted lid. If you want to impress your friends at the turning club, you want the lid to go on with a vacuum or come off with a vacuum suction when you pull the lid off, right? That means they are impressed because your tolerances were so tight it has a nice vacuum to it. And resin's pretty stable. Wood will move on you some, and that's really cool. And when I first started making boxes, that's what I would do, because that was what I was kind of told. Hey, you got to make it suction fit. And then I started selling pieces at craft shows, and I found out that if that lid wasn't easy enough to take on and off, people wouldn't buy them. And so you need to have a little less rigid tolerance, just a little more place where the lid doesn't fall off, just bubbly fall off when you pick the piece up, but yet isn't so tight that it is hard to get on and off, or can be, especially in a wood piece. One of my early pieces I made for my wife, it's a big lidded box. It's about 5 inches in diameter for jewelry, and it lives with the lid cocked at an angle because it goes on and you can't get it off, or it's hard to take off. And it was perfect when I made it. Well, 10 years later, it's warped and moved a little bit, as wood will do, and now it lives, sitting on its side at an angle. So you don't need to make it super vacuum fit. Make it where it doesn't fall off when you pick it up, but not so tight that it's a bit difficult. So it's a balancing act there. Just something to put in let you know about it. If you get them so tight that you got to mess with them, they don't work out so well. People won't use them. All right, so let's go back into the end camera. And we'll go back. So I'll take some of this out of here, and then I'll actually check the fit with the piece itself. Again, I plunged straight in, and then I came across. Okay? Just because the tool has a certain shape doesn't mean you can't do different things with it. Okay. Now you can have your lid, your joint taper and whatnot a little bit. Okay, so I'm still a little too big, too tight, which is fine. All right, so I'll take just a fuzz more off of there, and it's a fine line. And this piece gets bigger as I go, so the thinnest point will be the very, very edge. Okay, I'm gonna back this back up just a little bit. And it doesn't take much to make a lot of difference, because remember, what you take off of one side, you're taking off of the other side as well. Okay. Now, worst case scenario, I can always make, if I think I'm getting too thin, I can always take a little bit more off of the top of my piece itself, all right? Looks like it might be fairly thin, which would be interesting if we can do it without having to be fragile, because it would be translucent through there. Again, I'll just sweep across here since I'm in there. All that material is going to go away anyhow. Now that's as thin as I want to get. If I find that that's not enough, I'll take a little bit off of the lip of the piece, top edge of the piece. Okay, so that's perfect, give or take. All right, that drops right in. You see in the overhead, it pops right in there. All right, it doesn't really move front to back. All right, so I'm happy with that. That's good. It's cool. Now we can go back inside. How am I doing on time? 11. Find what I can read. 11:40 or 12:40. Okay, we're good on time. All right, so we've got that. Now back in here to take some more of this out. Now some of that's wood. I'm starting to get into that wood, I'm pretty sure. It's up in there, yep, so that's the wood. In the hybrid part of the cast. And it kind of looks like it's maybe one of my pecan root burls. Okay. That's working fine. We'll take a little bit more out. So there's some pockets in there. I do want to be sure not to hit this edge with my tool, like I almost did there, because I'll cut it and break it. What I'm looking for kind of is a balance of a little bit of, yes, it's translucent in the top there, so we can see through it, and that's cool. I have a little bit of a flat lip right here. If I use my ice pick, maybe you can see when I point right, well, let's try it this way. So I've got a little bit of a flat lip right here, and then it curves in for that to sit on. Okay. So let me just clean that up a little bit more, not much. And what I want to do, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rotate the head of my lathe, because this headstock rotates, so that I can go in here with the radius tool and clean this up into that corner without running the risk. Okay, so I'm going to turn this and then I'll turn that camera. So I don't run the risk of hitting the edge. So you can still see that there. You can see over here where I'll be working. And I'll use the small radius cutter. All right, and I'll come right in here and just clean up that surface. Get that smoothed up nicely. Okay. Give you one more pass right there. Great little project. Resurrecting an otherwise not particularly nice or interesting piece of resin. Now I can go deeper if I want to. I'm going to hold off for now, I think. Because when I go in, I get that line. Now if I take it out of here, so here's the $64 million question. If I take the lid out now, when I put it back in, I probably will never get it back just like it is. So I kind of have to make my decisions now on how long I want, or how deep I want the inside of the lid to be. Because if I take this out and change my mind, and I try and put it back in the chuck, it'll never line up just like it is. And this edge is so thin, it's still plenty thick enough to be strong for what its purpose is, but I won't get back in here. So I have to decide, I have to look in here and decide, is that enough lip for what I want? Am I happy with the way it fits and sits on there? Okay. Do I want it a little bit different? So on and so forth. So it's kind of a critical decision now at this point if we want to go any further or not. And I think I'm going to go just a little bit further. I got a few minutes. So I think I'm going to go back in here and take just a little bit more depth out of this and extend that depth inside there. And so in the end camera, you'll see I'm going to cut in here and take a little bit more of that out. Not a lot, but just a little. Just using that radius tool. Okay. And then I'll have to come back with the detail tool because I can't get right up in that corner real well. I can to a degree. Okay, let's see what that did to the way this thing fits. Okay, so I have to take a little bit more out to get it to slide up in there, which I thought I would. But just a fuzz. Y'all know how much that is. Just a little bit. Okay, perfect. Just what I want. I'm happy with that. Good deal. Okay. That's been fun. Shoot, we're going to be right on time, too. So let's take our lid off, out of the chuck. Come up here, we'll check our... Perfect. All right. Goes right on there. Doesn't rattle, but comes on and off. So there's no rattle to it. Let's see, where can I show you the best? Put you in the overhead here. So it drops right on. Drops on, but doesn't rattle. There's no shake, but it goes on just about right. Okay. Now, there's another question. I could have rolled this edge right here a little bit. That could be hand sanded. If I didn't like the look of that. All right. And if I show you this in the end piece. So we have that, what's interesting, we have that light colored top with the wood. And then we have the darker green body. Okay. Yay, green screen, it says. Oh yeah, let's turn that off. You get that when I forget to hit the button, Rich, as you know. It's clear now. Of course, I'm waiting for the delay to change. There you go. So, pretty cool. You know, nothing fancy for a scrap piece of resin. All right. Again, I think I'll sand this edge after the fact here. And I know that I put that up there. So, the last thing to do is to part that off. I'm going to save that because I'm going to sand on it a little bit, so I won't do that. But I've already set that. Here, let me pop this off and I'll show you what we're talking about. Pop this back on here. So right there is where the part is. If I take my parting tool, again, I'm not going to part it off right now. I just have to find, they all are silver. They all disappear. There it is. And though my tools do not have a specific place, well, they kind of have a sort of place. But so there's where it's going to get parted. And if I pop you here, you can see, okay. So it just has a small base to it. All right. And there's our lid fit. It pops on like so. And then there's our natural wood up in there, which to me looks really cool. And I can't help myself because you guys know how I love my lacquer. This will get sanded back away. I need to see what that wood looks like with a little bit of clear on it. Matter of fact, I'm going to see what the whole piece looks like with a little bit of clear on it. So you can see all the way, way down inside that top. That is really cool, the depth. Yes, Don, so there will be something that will go in the top here because I didn't have enough material to work with. So I would put it back in the chuck, drill a little hole in there for whatever type of pull I would put on it. That can be easily done after the fact. I don't know what it'll be. I knew I didn't have enough material to turn and profile a pull there. So, you know, I can see either a wood piece or a metal piece even. Be kind of fun actually to take a piece and do a little, like a little verdigris copper kind of thing to it. I am a lacquer fiend, and I admit it. So that's what it'll look like once it's all sanded and shiny, shined up. So this lacquer is so thin, when I sand it, it'll cut right back through it. But I don't have to sand it to the nth degree because then I'll sand the lacquer. And I'm going to adjust this other camera real quick if I can, just so you get to kind of see more of the whole top. There we go. I really like that top. I think that looks pretty cool. Going down through there. Again, I have no idea what in the world I've got in there. And if you can see this in person, it will probably go out of focus. I'm going to make a change here for you guys live. And I may have to turn the camera off to get it to do it. But you can see the depth down in there of those pieces of wood. So hybrid stuff is really cool. And again, I don't have a clue what it is that I've got in there. I wish it went all the way around, but hey, this is a scrap piece of resin, you know? So I see like a little black pull on here or something, some kind of little maybe steel thing. Sand that edge, take that sharp edge off of that top corner and roll this other back edge off. Just hand sanding that with a little bit of sandpaper. A nice little piece. It's kind of interesting to have the white band there. A nice piece for a piece of scrap resin, you know, for something that was just junk laying on the floor underneath the counter. I couldn't be happier. I'll turn that slow. You know, it'll probably get a drip or two on it. I'll take a picture. I'll take some up close pictures and post them here this afternoon, this evening, with what it looks like, even just sitting in the chuck. Because I think that's pretty cool. All right, back up there. And the time is 11:55. By golly, I finished one ahead of time, within a couple of minutes, or right on time. A little lacquer in the room. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Making that, turning that. Hope you picked up the tips from it. Don't forget, Spiracraft today, Chromacraft epoxy resin, the resin tints, the tint of resin, and the EasyWood Tools negative rate cutters are 15% off with the code that is in the Spiracraft Wood and Resin Turning Community group on Facebook. If you're here and you're not a member of the Wood and Resin Turning Community, Spiracraft on Facebook, you should go over there and join. It's a nice, easy, casual place. And it's, you know, it's a Spiracraft page, and it's about Monday methods and your own work and things that you might be inspired from here. And that's where I put the codes. And again, you know, I don't mind the code, but I can't remember it. It's MM20 2207 or something like that. 2207, might be 2207. I don't know. I did it this morning and I don't remember. But anyway, for you guys who are in the group, jump over there and grab some goodies today to make some of this. If you've got any questions, message, text, email, you know how it works to get a hold of me. Thursday night, should be able to get back out here Thursday night. Haven't done Thursday night in a long time either. So jump on in here on Thursday night. As long as it's not freezing cold out here, I will be here, and I'm in town. So good deal. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Michael, Sue, Art, Don. Thank you very much. I had a ball, which is what it's about. It's about having fun. So I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to put you back in the overhead on this for a minute. No, I'm going to put you on the end. I'm going to put you just like that on the end camera and say good day. And I appreciate everybody. And I will see you on Monday, if not Thursday night. Be safe out there. Stay warm this winter. And we'll see you soon.